Find yourself a booth, order up a cold one. This is the Spring Bar.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Spring Bar. Glad to have you here. I am Florida Mike today with my co-host Joe and the OC Casey. Gentlemen, how you guys doing today?
Hungover.
It's gonna be a slow morning.
Am I the only one that didn't know? I drank last night too. Probably not nearly as much as Joe because oh, would you look at that? It corrected itself.
Was that because you pulled out the wrong watch?
Yes.
Oh God, I forgot about that.
That was a midnight-ish for me at least. Message that you put in the group chat. So your surfboard came. It must have got knocked in shipping, and the chronograph central seconds hand was off by like a second or so.
Yeah, just about.
And then you wore a different chronograph. Mind you, the colors are similar. Okay, so we'll go with that. But you were so excited.
You're being very generous. Thank you.
It had fixed itself. We're like, no, Joe.
Dave was very kind. Like, oh yeah.
I woke up and saw that. I was laughing. KC is hungover for a different reason, though. KC went to Vegas. Vegas, baby.
Yeah. No, we kept it pretty low key. We didn't do anything too dumb as hell. We just went to the Shenandoah Valley. We got an Airbnb on the river, which was pretty sweet. We did a float, but as I was telling Joe, none of us brought bug spray, but we had enough cigar smoke to keep all the bugs away.
And this is a bachelor party for those that don't understand.
Oh, yes.
That's a little bit of pertinent information, although that's I've had weekends like that anyway, and that's just generally me by myself.
It's just an overall good weekend.
Sounds like everybody has fun. Now the question is though, were you burning through Partagas and Cohibas, or were you smoking Backwoods and Swisher Sweets?
All right, so these dudes actually, two of them started their watch podcast called Three Vices. This is a college buddy of mine and one of his friends. And so they're just budding watch enthusiasts talking about, watches, just like anyone else does. But they're also talking about their love of cigars. So they're far more knowledgeable of that and whiskey. He brought a humidor. So he had all these other stuff. Now, mind you, I know nothing about cigars other than which end you light, Got
to start somewhere.
Yeah. So, we were smoking good stuff that I just unfortunately just didn't have the knowledge and a refined palate to appreciate as good stuff.
So for future reference, you just go get yourself a foil package of Backwoods cheroots and you'll be set.
Yes, because in my mind, they're all going to taste the same.
Yes and no. Sounds like I may need to have a guest spot on your friend's podcast here.
Yeah.
That's right up my alley.
One of the ones that we had at your house, Joe, those were
we had Garos. That's my personal favorite brand. It's a chiropractor out of Glendale, has been doing his own for 25, 30 years now. And that's just
we smoked something called Last Call.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Joe, how can people get a hold of us?
There you go.
Not that last call. Oh, okay.
Oh, it's gonna be one of those. All right.
Moving on. To justify your T-shirt there.
Yes. Yeah. Keep all my dad jokes in a database.
It's bad. That's bad.
It's so bad it's good.
No. All right. So, who's got what? Mike's been doing some mass. Let's do your NWA last, Casey, because that's going to take us into our discussion.
So okay, I'll go.
Go.
We were just talking off air. It's a sickness. I feel bad because I can't count, nor can I even probably list off. I'd have to go to the box and be like, yes, I got that one. I got that. In the last month, the number of watches I have bought is disgusting. I don't know if I ever got to talk about this one. And if I did, I apologize. And I, again, just don't friggin' remember. I bought another Rado Diastar. Did we talk about this one yet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did? Okay. Moving on.
Next.
So before I came to California, I bought a watch, but I didn't get to pick it up until after I got back from California because I literally bought it the day before I left. So there wasn't enough time. I had been after one of these for a very long time. I finally, hold on, let me get it and see. Can you tell what it is?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Bought a wrist alarm.
What's the dimensions on that? Is it 33, 34?
I don't know. I don't have my calipers. It's a probably 36, 37, if I had to guess, just by looking at it. It's not small. It's not small.
Huh.
Not small. I would say it's very comparable to my Aerojet, and that's probably what, 36, 37. It's about that size. Because you remember, this is basically a Sea King.
Yeah.
And later in production, they put the whale on the dial and they called it a Sea wrist alarm. This one is from, what is it, 1966. I'm usually not a dress watch guy, but you throw 2 crowns on it and a wiggly hour hand and the special cursive writing on there, and it's pretty cool. I've been wearing this one a lot. I dig it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
The alarm function is almost kind of pointless. Why do you need to have an alarm function anymore these days, right? But it's just cool. Just fiddle around with it and play it and have some fun. After we had talked about this, after I got back, immediately waiting for me the next day was the Jetstar reissues.
Yeah.
This is the butterscotch dial. Bad lighting in here. It looks real dark. This is the gold cased butterscotch. Comes on a real cool brown with yellow stitched strap. I also got the Merlot dial in. So now I have all 3 of them. Very excited about them. They've been getting a lot of good reviews every time I post
There's
them.
been a lot of good buzz on those. So
yeah. And then finally, I just bought. We have a friend of ours who is selling some watches. Just want to kind of get rid of them anonymously. So he asked me to sell them for him. In the package of watches comes this real cool oval looking, very long, very narrow Caravel vertical date window blue dial watch. The exact same thing as what Oliver has.
Yeah.
He's got the white version. This is the blue, not the actual strap for it, but it works. As soon as I saw it, I'm like, yeah, I'll buy it from you.
It's nice. Those are so far really good in person.
25% of his watches have been sold, so I'm doing pretty good.
Well, solid.
But that's a quick rundown of everything that I've got new since the last time we talked. Since last week, yeah. And I have to be done for right now. I've got to be done. I spent so much money on watches lately. I need to be done buying stuff.
Move some stuff.
We'll see how long that lasts. I'll give it to Wednesday.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
So Joe, what do you got?
All I got was this Bulova Ocean Timer.
Oh, that is,
very interesting.
It's interesting.
Very, very funny for you because you always complain about, I need to be able to tell exactly what time it is. And then you throw a compass on top of it. It's very hard to tell the time.
No, it's not. It's not, because when you're holding it to read, when you're holding it to read, the compass doesn't move. It stops.
Well, exactly. So it looks like an extra minute hand somewhere. It looks like 2 extra minute hands.
No.
Okay.
No. My prescription allows me to see the difference,
to decipher the difference
easier, I think, than you. So yeah, so
okay.
it's a functional compass. The Riyadh, it's thick though, because you got the compass that's sitting on top of the handset, and then there's a chapter ring which has got essentially compass markings on it. So this one's like, it's a gray or green PVD case with some brass highlights on it, black dial, loom tip on the red north hand. They're really interesting. It's supposed to be, like they call it the ocean timer, but it's only 30 meters, no screw down crown. Like, okay, I get it.
Ocean splash.
Right. And it's also like they're supposed to come on like a rubber strap. This one showed up on a NATO. And so I swapped out the NATO for more of a Bond. And it works. It works. It's nice. It's fun.
It's cool. So that's one of those weird European only models. Like there's another Bulova GMT. Like there's the Skystar. When you talk Bulova GMT, everybody thinks the Skystar, but there's something completely different.
Yeah, it's like
European.
There's a four-hander.
So
Four-hander version. Yeah. This is like nobody's really sure when and what they are. The movements are stock. It's a Swiss movement, but beyond that, it's like, who knows? Nobody's really sure what year it is. So, and there's a few different iterations. You've got like a black PVD case. There's a bronze or brass case. There's a stainless case. There's white dials, black dials. So there's
that watch.
Of that watch, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. There's some.
I didn't know that. I've only ever seen that one.
No, there's like 4 or 5, I think.
Wow.
So
interesting.
That's it. And then I've got there's a apparently I won a contest.
Yeah.
So that watch is in the mail and it'll be arriving eventually.
Oh, cool.
That's what I got.
How contest did you win?
I don't know.
You know.
Well, it was one of those things like,
did you have to enter your social?
I don't think so. But somebody threw up, was like, follow me and tag 3 friends and do this and jump through a hoop. And it's like, all right, fine. And I probably tagged both of you. So
maybe.
I don't know.
But that's what's weird is like, is he affiliated with somebody that he had all this stuff? Because there was a watch, there were straps, there was a water bottle, he's out
of Canada, and he does some stuff. He does some things with Bulova Canada every so often.
Does he? Okay. So
yeah, I've talked to some other people that have won giveaways that he's done too. So I'm like, all right,
some kind of a weird affiliation there somewhere. Then
it's legit. It's legit. Huh. I got a tracking number. So it's in the mail. Might be here Wednesday. I don't know. We'll see. Full review coming soon.
But it's what was it? Is it it's a Bulova Makina, right?
Makina, yeah. It's like a different register. So I don't even know much about that because it's a new release. So I'll have to see when it gets here and we'll check it out.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah. All right, Casey, you're up.
So I picked up this Universal Geneve.
There it is.
White Shadow, which has the micro rotor movement in it. And that's kind of what sparked, I guess, today's topic.
Joel loves Universal Geneva, and
I do.
Jumped at the chance to talk about it today.
I do. Well, we've danced around it for
we have, and we've said for a while, like, if we had to start over again, what brand would we pick? And Universal Geneva is your do-over brand.
Yeah, it would be. Absolutely. There's just something about the depth of the design. I don't know that they've got like the same depth of catalog that, say, definitely not that what Bulova has, just from a length and a style standpoint. But I would throw them in kind of the same space you'd see Doxa. You look at like real vintage Doxa, or even you could probably go back and even say Invicta too, if you're looking at like vintage Invicta like we have. Yeah, I think they fit into that space.
Really? I think they're above that.
Yeah.
Well, as far as defunct brands go, they have a large enough catalog for it to hold your attention and you to constantly find something new. Yeah. And then, what they did put out was top notch.
Oh, without question, for what it was at the time.
Well, it's It's weird, right? Their catalog. So when you think of the name, the first thing I think pops into anybody's head is going to be the pole router.
Yeah.
And then
Yep.
they have the compacts. They have the unicompacts, tricompacts, the bicompacts, all those
Space
chronographs,
compacts.
the space compacts. I think your shadows. So they have the golden shadow and the white shadow.
And the
Are
gilt
probably
shadow.
And the gilt shadow, don't forget.
well, but the golden and the gilt are called the golden shadows.
No, there's the gilt shadow.
Okay. Those are under the radar
Oh,
ones.
actually.
And then you have the Nina Rin, which
Uh-huh.
is, I think, the chronograph to end all chronographs. I would absolutely have one of those over a Daytona, Paul Newman, any day of the week.
I'm with you on that. I agree with
Nina
that. I think
Rin.
that's a
But I
phenomenal,
think so.
phenomenal.
Really, that's what is that? 5 different watches, but the variations is what gets you. It's like we were just talking before. There's how many different? There's
Oh, yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different pole router variants. So it's like the catalog isn't huge, but the variance within each model range is extensive.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
And
just for the white shadow alone, I think there are 3 different case shapes.
Yeah.
So you
So
have
you
this
got the,
C shape from here, but then you also have like this oval ellipse
yeah.
option.
It's not quite a turtle, but it's sort of close. It's a really cool case. I like
yeah,
that the dial is as simple as it is. It's a very plain sort of an eggshell almost dial, right? It's printed hours.
Yeah.
So it's like a whole pad printed. It's a simple watch, but that doesn't mean that it's any less elegant. And I think that's sort of something that they did really, really well.
Whatever print they did use, those hour markers do stand off of the dial.
They're tall a little bit.
Yeah. So I don't know what kind of print system that was, but or if it was required multiple layers. But yeah, if you look at the dial off at an angle, it's the numerals are not in line with the plane of the dial. They stand up a little higher.
Huh. All right. Well, talk to us about that. How did this come about? Because that is not entirely your norm, particularly since we're just talking about your 7-watch collection. And all of a sudden,
this would not fall into my 7-watch collection. The 7-watch collection is like a very intentional curated thing where I try not to put a large amount of impulse buys into. Like most of these were an intentional purchase. But this, so I'm a huge fanboy of oh my gosh, and I can't remember his name. TGV.
Oh yeah.
TGV. I love the Urban Gentry stuff. And he had done maybe like almost a year ago, he did an episode about this exact watch. And I remember seeing it and just it captivated me. I was like, wow, that is a really striking watch. And at the time he made the argument that this was the best budget alternative to a Patek Philippe. Specifically those oval. I don't recall which Patek that would be, but it's the oval ones.
Okay.
And
like the golden ellipse.
Yes.
Okay.
So I guess he made the argument that UG made those first, and then Patek ended up picking up Genta, and Genta kind of just moved the designs on over to Patek. So he made this argument by the lineage of Genta, UG is Patek.
Okay.
But anyway, so I really appreciated the way the dial looked. I mean, the Cartier has Roman numerals, and that's my only other Roman numeral watch. This also does not have a running seconds, but when I started looking into what that micro rotor really meant, I was impressed with the idea, but I didn't understand until I actually saw it just how thin this watch really is. And
it's amazing, isn't it?
It really is. And you almost forget that it's on the wrist. I think I did the math and it was only 0.4 millimeters thicker than the quartz Cartier tank I have.
Yeah.
Only 0.4. And this is not just a like mechanical winding or hand wind. This is an automatic movement.
So fun fact about those is, and I'm reading here, those had a production run from 65 to 78. And during that time, they had the record for the thinnest automatic movement at 2.3 millimeters.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Wow. So that's thin. That's real thin.
So I've got my Ambassador, which has the Burin micro rotor in it, and we'll get into the differences between the movements in just a second. But like your comment that you forget that it's there, and the presence of the watch, just because the dial is relatively large and there's no bezel, so to speak, right? So you're seeing mostly the dial, and it's a pale dial, so it wears a little big, but it not overly so. But it's so thin. It's so thin. Like you got to have the right strap on it. It's got to be a really fine strap, fine. Oh yeah, it's cool. They're really, really cool.
So actually, I suppose that would be a slight pain. If you do have a bulky strap, it's definitely not going to work on this watch. You need to make sure it's thin. I actually have it on a Barton Gaucho right now, and those are pretty thin from the factory. But the other thing is you need to have curved spring bars.
Oh, for that one, do you? Because of the case?
Yep. So that's kind of annoying. I got to go buy some. But yeah, I think it's a 35 millimeter watch, and it probably wears like a 36
easily.
So I think you could pull this off if you have 7.5 inch wrists without a problem.
So I'm a little bit over 7, and that size works great for me. But I like that kind of thing. But it also, you know what though, it really seems to work better with a paler dial. Like the smaller watch size, but a pale dial, and it just makes it wear a little bit different. Wear a little bit, the size doesn't show up quite as much. So that's just me. That's my 2 cents on it. Let's talk about the movement, because you picked that up and we were talking about it, and then I had to do the deep dive, because it's a micro rotor. Burin held the patent for a micro rotor, and then UG came out with theirs. So what's the story? Talk us through that.
The way I understand it is what UG did was questionably identical to Burin's. Now, who will ever really know?
Burin did, because aren't they the ones that sued?
Well, yes. So they did sue and they won. So there was a time period where UG had to stamp all their movements with patent pending, as opposed to, UG itself. And they had to pay a certain percentage of the sales to Burin until they got their patent approved in the late 50s, I believe. I want to say 58.
Yeah.
I'd have to look back. So I always find that a little interesting, right? Because either there's a couple things that could be happening here. Is it what kind of espionage is that called? Industrial espionage?
All right. Yeah.
Did someone actually go in there and steal this, or were they teams of engineers that were following the same path and idea kind of similarly at the same time? And sometimes there's really only one way to skin a cat.
You run into a lot of that. That happens in a lot of different places, and we've seen it through watch history that people were coming up with the same idea in different places, and they weren't talking to each other. And this is way back. But there's the industrial espionage side of things, and I think that we could go back to the debate about the caliber 12 and the the Seiko chronograph movements and all of that sort of stuff, that everybody kind of worked through it at about the same time. And some of their solutions were really similar, but that may not have been industrial. This one, on the other hand, because I believe that the Burin movement came out first, like debuted and everything, and while UG may have been working on something like that, I'm fairly confident somebody at UG had purchased one and then just came in one day and they opened up the backs. Like, see, look, that's how it works. Like, oh, well, okay, do that instead. Is it industrial espionage if you can go buy it? I don't know. Definitely copyright infringement, but that's for the lawyers to decide. So you were following the urban gentry, he was talking about it. How long did you look for that? Were you doing like an advocate kind of search, or did that one sort of fall in your lap? What's the story?
So I guess I have a couple of just different brands that I'll occasionally, when I'm bored, and really the thing that I do is I like to stress buy, which is perfect because I got this new job of stressing the shit out of me.
Well, at least you weren't drunk.
Yeah. So I'll just go back through and I'll be like, oh, sometimes I'll punch in like Bulova, Carabao, and scroll through to see if I find something interesting. Well, this time I was like, let me go see what Universal Geneve has. And yes, I came across this listing, and I don't know. I don't know if I overpaid. I think I probably got an okay deal. The case is a little buggered up. This is supposed to be a high polished case, so obviously cases like that are just not going to stay pristine. The
Only you
crystal
knew a guy.
Yeah, and then the movement. The guy said he doesn't think it will automatically want anymore. I think it does, just not well. So this is kind of a Instagram / watch fam thing where I want to see, well, I want to get it restored by the watch fam pretty much. So I still got to work with Mike on the details, but I'd like to send it to him to go ahead and get the case redone. And then after that, I'd like for it to be sent off to Japan to have it worked on there. So yeah, hopefully we'll get it.
Have you talked to Dave about servicing that watch?
I have. Yeah.
Has he worked on micro rotors before?
He says he has. Yep.
Oh, okay.
So
I'm just curious. He's touched everything.
I know, right?
He really has.
And he yeah, actually he's working on 3 watches right now. The Tuxedo Caravel. That thing ended up crapping the bed pretty fast. So I was like, well, shit. That's why I haven't worn it. So I sent it off to him along with my Omega Geneve and then the Israeli Omega as well, because that thing just wouldn't keep time.
Yeah.
So yeah, Dave just worked on, and I feel like vintage Omega quartz is probably one of the more difficult things to service, and he's got it running again.
I got to think like vintage quartz, anything is difficult to service.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm hoping this will be kind of like a little watch fam restoration. I mean, that alone, I think, is a cool idea that, you through a network of people you met, watch enthusiasts you met online, you can get a watch restored,
Well, I mean, that's one of the things that the meetups help with that. Just throwing stuff out onto Instagram is probably one of the better places to get a broader access versus, say, there's a couple of different Discord groups that watch meetups that I participate in that they're doing stuff with. And that's a lot of like, oh, well, where can I buy this watch? Who can get me on the list? It's that kind of thing. It's like, yeah, that's nice, but let's talk real. Where do I get something serviced? Who's going to be good for that sort of thing? And you get a little bit more of that in a slightly different community. So being able to throw something out onto Instagram in particular, saying, hey, I have this, I'd like to get it working. I live here. And somebody who's around or local will say, okay, cool. You could go to and list off, 4 or 5 people that are kind of in your general metro area. That's always fun.
The other thing I like about working with Dave is, outside of the fact that he's been gracious enough to only charge for parts, the fact that he isn't a traditional licensed watchmaker, but yet the work he does is awesome. And there's a certain, like, not to be super like sentimental here, but it's cool because he's a watch enthusiast. So like there's a certain level of trust there from that alone.
Well, there's trust and a geekery that goes with it too, which I think that appeals to me on sort of a fundamental level. He's like, oh, this is so cool. Like, yeah, I know, it's really cool.
Right. Yeah, or I'll send you a message about the service. Be like, yeah, man, I didn't realize this is how they went about this particular date change mechanism or something like that, Whereas I feel like your professional watchmaker does not have time to establish that relationship with their clients unless it's magic hands.
I
Well,
like
Magic Hands is a totally different thing. That's it's a personal relationship, but it's all the same sort of thing that happens with Dave or any of the other guys that I go to that they recognize me by. I walk in, it's like, oh hey, and I don't even have to say anything. They stuff shows up.
I think it's more like a oh hey.
Yeah.
But I like that Dave videos all his stuff and then puts it on YouTube so you can watch your watch being serviced. That's pretty neat.
It's fun.
Yeah,
it's definitely a fun little bit.
Yeah.
So we are relatively blessed through our massive international following of the Spring Bar podcast.
We're lucky to have Dave.
Oh yeah.
Lucky to have Dave. We got more stuff coming your way, Dave.
Yeah, definitely. But all right, so that's kind of, I guess, maybe the catalyst for discussing UG today. How do we want to proceed with this? Do we kind of just want to hack away and do a hack job of its history real quick, or
might as well?
There's a couple of things. Like, if you don't, and I didn't even really put in enough effort to think about it, but Universal Geneve is still around.
Yeah. Yes.
Still a functioning company. They have a catalog. They've got watches that are available for purchase on their website.
There's
well, okay, so do we want to talk their modern element real quick?
I think we should.
And then go talk about, because I have some vintage offerings I would love to talk about that I don't think are tracked. Outside.
I'm sure they're not. So let's talk about what they're currently offering, which is what? One case shape and then two movements and dial iteration.
Referred to as ass.
Yeah, there's one case design, and it's adapted into having chronograph pushers. If it's a chronograph, they have three movements, three-ish movements. They have one base movement, and then they just put modules on top of that base movement, and that's it. So there really is no more design to them anymore.
And then on top of that, if you're throwing modules onto it and you have the same case, that means that the case back is getting changed in order to accommodate the module, because the case is still running. Like, man, really?
Like it goes from, hold on, let me just pull it up here real quick, because just your basic three-hander watch, that thickness is 10.3 millimeters. And then if you go into a chronograph, that brings it up to, where's the number at? 13.2.
So the thickness that they add is the same thickness as the watch that KC currently has.
Yeah. And then
watch.
If you add the module for the moon phase version, that's 13.4.
Oh, geez.
So that's even a little thicker still.
Wow, man. All right. Yeah. So I mean, the current catalog, the current catalog leaves a little bit to be desired. I think we could
I would say that if there was one that I would buy, if someone just gave me money to buy it with, would be their
if someone gave you money and said you can only buy a Universal Geneve
with this.
Yes.
It is from their micro rotor UG100 line, and I only see, and this is straight up on their website, I see a rose gold option and a gold option, and they kind of give me pole router-esque vibes, which is the only reason why I would be slightly attracted to them. The case isn't quite pole router, but the hands and dial is kind of what's speaking to me there.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of getting AP vibes from the case, just from the crown guards. So,
Okay, yeah. This is under the quote unquote limited edition.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah. I mean, what is the movement in here? Oh, well, this is the translation, because crystal has been translated to ice. You get sapphire crystal ice with anti-reflective treatment. So
sapphire ice.
Where the hell is the damn movement?
So they call in the movement the UG100. That's their micro rotor movement designation.
Okay. Yeah, it's a 42 millimeter. Jeez.
Yeah, they're all big.
It's big. Like they haven't touched their design in a good long while, which is really unfortunate. So, the current offerings are just, considering the rich and deep history that the brand has. It's like, really, you didn't want to go back and touch anything from the past? Like I can get, okay, we want to forge our own path. We want to make our own statement, but it's like, man, a reimagining of a pull router now with all the hype that they've been getting, like, come on.
Well, I think that's kind of what KC is talking about here. These micro rotors, I mean, they look pull routery. Yeah, maybe that's as far as they go.
Man, I almost wonder if whoever's running it, whoever bought this name for the sake of holding the name, isn't really a watch enthusiast. They just were like,
no. You know who owns the brand?
Is it Citizen?
It's not Citizen. Stelex, the bracelet, who owned Bulova at one time.
The hell's a Stelex?
They make
Chrysler
straps.
Stelex bracelets.
Yeah.
Wow.
Chrysler Stelex. So they own UG. They own how do you say it? Cyma, 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 and another brand. They only have 3 watch brands under their umbrella. That's it. Not very big at all.
Only.
But like the other brand, hold on, who is it? You've never heard of them? Catena, Catena, Catena. And I looked them up. They make really weird stuff. They're a Swiss brand. Never heard of them before until now.
All right. Interesting.
And Stelex, as it is the sole distributor for Grand Seiko in Hong Kong and Macau. Fun fact. Yeah.
Well, all right. So the current offerings leave a little bit to be desired, but let's talk about old school offerings. So you've got all of the stuff that we've talked about, the Nina Rinse. Without question, you got 2 different dial variations on that, right? You got the Panda and the reverse Panda. You've got all of the compacts variations. And so there's the bi-compacts, the tri-compacts, which has nothing to do with the number of subdials, but having everything to do with the number of complications within it. You have got the pull router family of 7 different styles, amongst other things. And getting into like the pull router sub, which is that 2 dual crown super compressor kind of thing. And that's the main catalog. When you think about UG, those are the watches that come to mind. However, as the Bulova family,
don't forget that what are they, the Unisonics?
Right.
They got those too.
As the Bulova fanboys that we are, the Lunar Pilot was a UG design that has a Bulova stamped dial.
It sort of. So
because Bulova owned UG at 1.2.
The way that I can piece the story together, because when you do research on this, you get a lot of different points of view.
Yeah.
So Universal, so Bulova went to them for the chronograph movements, which is essentially the same thing that's in the space compacts. And I've read that if you look at the numbering on the back of the Lunar Pilot cases, they fall in line with what the space compacts numbering for the cases are. However, in the digital files of the line books that we have, there is the Bulova patent for the design of the Lunar Pilot. So I think Bulova probably designed the case and the dial and that, but it's very much a UG movement that's inside of it.
It is, but then also there's that infamous picture where it is the Lunar Pilot. It is the case. It is those distinctive pushers,
and it's a non-stamped.
Right, it's a sterile dial.
Yep.
And there's apparently there are 2 versions.
Allegedly.
There's the one that went to the moon, and then there was another one that sold at auction, and nobody knew what it was. And it didn't have a Bulova on the dial. Was the sterile dial? Was probably the same watch from the photo.
It's got to be the same one, yeah.
Right, probably. And so that's out there somewhere. But what are the other offerings? Because obviously, like if that one shows up, okay, fantastic. I'll buy it and sell a kidney or whatever I need to. That works fine. But what else do we got? Because there's a ton of great design.
Yeah, I think there's a small. This could be another topic, a segment of the show here today, but there's a small cult following for these white shadows. So we already talked kind of a little bit about that white shadow line. You got 3 different options: solid gold, gold plated, or stainless steel. But then I just sent in the group chat.
Yeah, that's really pretty too.
You got the square one, which I believe is a micro rotor. It's a black dial, almost looks like it has some sort of vintage aged puffy loom going on. So that's interesting. But the thing that I'm more interested in is their 1920s 8-day power reserve tank-ish style watch. But it has really aggressive angles.
It's fantastic with the case finishing that's on that. It's got those Breguet hands, but it's also, you're looking at watches of that era, watches that style, and it just fits into the same design language that you're seeing that came from everybody, right? There's just that Hamilton reissue that they've done for the Indiana Jones movie, which is of something that's of a similar, that Art Deco.
Right.
But this watch, when you're looking at just the case configuration, it's sort of this weird combination of like Art Deco and Gothic. The angles are so stark. I like it. I like it a lot.
I think this watch, especially being from the 20s, is almost, it speaks to what Universal Geneve would essentially become. When I see Universal Geneve, especially vintage, I see lots of innovation and pulling things off that others just haven't, i.e. with such a thin watch.
Yeah.
But they've managed to cram an 8-day power reserve into something that is 26 by 39 millimeters or 33.
Yeah.
Wow. 43 millimeters. What watch today does that?
Does it say in there, is that a double barrel or no?
I do not know how they achieved that, and I don't see any pictures of the movement.
It doesn't say. I mean, that case shape, that sort of that square case shape, that not quite a tonneau case shape. The dial color is great. The handset is great. It's a fantastic design. It's a classic design, but it's also unique enough. It's not a copy of almost anything else that you would see coming from that time period.
Yeah.
When you look at that 20s one, there you've got that little bit of filigree on sort of the mid case.
Yep.
In that, but the angles that are on it, it's kind of so stark, And I think that's something that's kind of missing. It's missing from a lot of other design language, a lot of other brands. They were going with what was popular, but it was distinctive in and of itself, rather than it's like, oh, let me just make a copy of a Patek or a Hamilton or a whatever.
Well, I'm thinking as far as power reserve goes, the only thing I can think of right now is the 10-day Oris Big Pilot skeleton, and that thing's like almost 44 mil.
Yeah, they're big. Yeah, there's a couple others that are similar. You got that power reserve game, but it's always that double barrel, and it's a bigger watch. It's a bigger space, and that's such a small package to be able to pull that off. And nobody's really doing that anymore, which is unfortunate. And they certainly should. Spring bar hope and prayer. Bring back a longer power reserve for those of us who have a deep rotation and don't get to wear watches every day.
So I knew I've seen it somewhere. I had to look. I'm looking at the Hodinkee shop right now, and it's not a current offering. So you have to search Google White Shadow Starry Night, and it pulls up. It's the same case that what you've got there, Casey. Same everything pretty much. But this gorgeous, I'm holding up screen here, gorgeous dial.
Yeah, I think I've seen that. Yeah.
And if you swipe through the photos, there's kind of a side profile view, and you can see just how thin this thing really is. I mean, it's fantastic. Beautiful looking dial.
And there's that subtle, that subtle bulge that goes over around. You can see it really well in this picture. That the case shape doesn't follow the lug curvature, and that's why you have to get those curved spring bars.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, that's a great watch, man. It's a great watch. It's a great design. I think that they are massively, massively underrated. So when you were doing your research on this, Casey, what were you finding out about the UG community? Right, because we're all adjacent and involved with watch communities in a variety of different forums. You know, you've got your military stuff. I've got the Bulova and Accutron space. Mike's got a few other things that that he gets into, and so the communities that we're involved in, particularly the Bulova community, we know that the documentation isn't there, but the grassroots research is. What were you finding when it came to UG?
Right, and I think having started off collecting Bulova, maybe my expectations were a little unrealistic of other brands, because I mean there's plenty of forums and websites solely dedicated to Bulova. You could find enough information to satisfy your curiosity. But with UG, I'm over here typing in, Universal Geneve clubs, forums, and I'm seeing nothing. Maybe the odd Reddit post or thread, but that's kind of it. But there's people out there that are into these things, because I mean the prices on the secondary market alone would suggest that someone knows about these.
Yeah, because it's not cheap. You're not picking them up for pocket change.
Especially those chronographs. Like, good God, man, you just spent $4,000 on getting. I mean, you get a solid watch, but still.
Yeah, I think that they're priced. I think that they're priced well for what they are. I don't think that anybody is necessarily gouging the market. I don't think that they're overpriced. I think that that's a good version of whatever watch you find. You're probably just about right. And so, is it undervalued? No. Is it overvalued? No. Is it accurate? Yeah, kind of. Like the limited research I've done on them,
I think it makes it hard to find a screaming deal on one.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd agree.
You have to go into it appreciating what it is that you're buying.
Yep, exactly. And that's kind of what kept me from pulling trigger on anything else other than this. So maybe the White Shadow is that underappreciated element where you may get a screaming deal, and I'm not really confident I got one.
Yeah, but are you upset with your purchase price?
No,
right.
I think right. So it describes what you said. Is it under or over? No, it's just right.
Yeah.
I don't think like I'm going to be able to move this on and make like a 50% profit. Like that's not going to happen. But I enjoy what I got. Like even if Mike and Dave aren't able to work on this for whatever reason, the way it sits now is enjoyable.
Yeah. I'm really curious. I'd like to see that at some point. I think that'd be fun. I think that's neat. I think you did real good. Two thumbs up.
Well, sweet. That makes my wallet feel happy.
I know my approval is what you're longing for. I'm sure.
So, but to kind of circle to some of their more, well, like we were talking about this chronographs, but the pole router itself is pretty sweet because there is so much variation. And the one thing I really like about it is the shitty quality of the dial, because that lends itself to really cool patina. Dude, some of those tropical dials, starry dials.
You're absolutely right. Like you can get when you start looking at the pole routers specifically, dial quality is so all over the place. It's like, okay, how well loved was this watch? And I'm not even talking about case quality, just the dial quality. And they've got that two-tone dial for a lot of them.
Yeah, and it's super weird because that silver band almost doesn't seem to age the same as whatever material they use for the center of the dial.
Yeah, you're right. And even when you get like the salmon dials too, that sort of that rose gold color.
Yeah.
And that gets a great patina on it as well. You're totally right.
I've always kind of compared those to the Bulova Aerojets in the way that those particular dials age and patina. Each one is very different from the other, but they all have their own way of aging just right.
Yeah. Yes. You know what? I guess that's a very good point because I don't think I've seen a pull router that has dial damage that I didn't like.
Isn't that something?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it speaks a lot to, and so are we talking the quality of the materials used in the dial and the way that they degrade, or are we talking a design quality of the dial that doesn't, the dial is so well designed, like that Genta design, that it can take damage and still be functional and still be elegant? I don't know what the answer is for that, but it's definitely
Some
appealing.
of them almost look like over the years they've been handled and fingerprinted, and that's what causes the oxidation on whatever the materials used were. They just have that weird oily kind of look to them.
Yeah.
I just sent you one that I have never seen before. I don't even know. That's the thing about the UG space is I don't even think the collectors know what these things are called. Like this has a weird dial. I don't even know what the hell this dial is.
Oh, like a tiger's eye dial.
Yeah.
Almost. Yeah.
Like a stone dial.
Yeah.
But you know, it's authenticity guarantee, so that counts for something. Yeah, it looks like a tiger's eye dial.
You're not going to catch me spending $4,500 on that. I don't care if it's 18 gold or not.
It's a good bracelet, though.
Well, you can melt it down and make yourself a solid gold white shadow.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Do a little sand casting.
If I was going to drop 4.5 on a UG, it would be the moon phase chronograph in 18 karat gold before I buy that one.
Oh, hey, by the way, what are we all wearing? Well, we know what Casey's wearing.
I'm actually wearing a Tudor sub.
Oh, you got something different on. Okay, so what do you got?
I've got the Tudor sub on.
On leather.
Yes, on leather. I took this and the UG out to the bachelor party because the bachelor and his buddy are running that podcast, so I wanted to show them a micro rotor. So
did you crack the back while you were there?
Hell no.
Okay.
I already marred the ever-loving crap out of the case back trying to get it open. I am so mad about it. I buggered the shit out of it. So it's a biatch to get.
Have you already been invited to your buddy's podcast yet?
Yes.
All right.
There you go.
So
let us know. I want an invite. I'll talk all things 666 and cigars.
Cigars.
Hell yeah.
What do you got, Joe? What are you wearing?
I got on the 218 Canadian dial, 0 at 12 Accutron.
Hey, so while I was at the Bullivan Museum, we did talk about their reissues. I saw that there.
Yeah.
What is the significance of the 0? Is that just because that's how Canada does it?
That's how Canada does it. They wanted it slightly different, and it was the Canadian Railroad spec, for lack of a better term. And there's an argument that goes on in the community with Accutron and with some of these style watches. There is a version that has it's applied numerals. It's also a Canadian version, and they were calling it the Canadian Railroad for the longest amount of time, but this is the actual official Canadian Railroad model with the 0 at 12. There's a US version. There's a 214 and a 218 movement. They both have the 12, and they've got a sub hour, inner ring that is a 24-hour space. So this one, it's really kind of cool because it's 0, big 0, and then right underneath that is 12. So there's no 24 on the dial at all.
Okay.
And that's the thing. Like the reissue is also the same size. I mean, it's small, it's kind of dainty. The angles of the case are really nice. I mean, it's a really cool watch.
Kudos to them for, if you're going to do a railroad watch, picking the most unique one of all of them to reissue.
Yeah. It's distinctive, that's for sure. But also, you know, when you look at the coffee table book that they have, which is all of the firsts, history
of the history of firsts, yeah.
Then that's the front cover. It's this style is on the whole cover of the book.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Which I have. Hold on.
Wait a minute. Wait for it.
Nope, that's the Tag Heuer book. Hold
Nope.
on.
Oh, inappropriate.
It's right next to it here. Here. Oh, it's heavy.
Yeah.
Yes. That's pretty sweet.
There.
That's it. Yeah. So
you said it's running fast. How fast is it running?
Well, I forget when I said it, but I'm about a minute and a half fast.
Ooh.
And I think I said it 30 minutes ago.
That is fast.
Oh,
it might have something to do with the workshop that the gentleman that you gave it to works in is a very dusty parking lot underneath a canopy.
Incorrect.
Oh,
he did not work on it there. He took it with him and brought it back 2 weeks later.
So, but you don't know what his other workshop looks like.
I'm pretty sure it's not a parking lot. I could be wrong. Like he could be working out of his car for all I know. I don't know.
Yeah. You never know.
Right. What do you got, Mike?
I'm wearing my gold Caravel 333 diver with the great faded bezel on here. This one is on the original Black Tropic strap, which is a weird choice. And after seeing Oliver's on the gold bracelet, I need a gold bracelet.
You need a gold bracelet.
It's going to look a whole lot better.
You will like that watch a lot more.
Where are you going to source a gold bracelet for that?
Wherever. It's an 18 millimeter.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know if you have, because Strapsco bracelets are hit or miss for me sometimes.
They're hit or miss. You're absolutely right. I've had a lot of hits with them, to be completely fair. The choices that I've had from that, but I haven't done anything in their gold or in their PBD lines, so I can't say.
My thought is, so the one that Oliver has is perfect. It's an 18 millimeter lug, but then it flares out to match the case lines, and then it tapers down from there. I think that's pretty perfect. I might be okay with an 18 millimeter ladder bracelet on here, though.
Okay.
I think that would be a good look.
Oh, that's an interesting idea.
Yeah. I just have to be willing to cough up the money for a gold 18 millimeter ladder bracelet from Strapsco.
Yeah, that's about
what are they, like 60, 70 bucks, something like that?
Yeah. I mean, this the Cartier is on a Strapsco.
That's a good look, man. That works.
But their freaking oyster bracelets are so annoying because the end links, the tabs on the bottom, are too shallow, so the end links will always flip in and out.
Oh, yeah.
I hate that so much.
Yeah.
Now, credit to them though, they're all solid end links, solid link, screw. I wish they would go ahead and give you a milled clasp. It's still stamped if you get their oyster bracelet.
Yeah.
I think for 50 bucks you should get a milled clasp, but yeah.
The only bracelet I have from them is the 22 millimeter President that's on the parking meter, and that's a butterfly clasp. But I mean, a solid bracelet. I mean, that thing is well built for sure.
I've got the ladder. I've got a couple others from them. I've also got a couple rubbers, like Tropic, Silicon Tropics, that are really good too. So like shout out to Strapsco for kind of doing a nice level of things correct.
Yeah.
In our humble opinion.
Yep.
Sponsorships available. Ask now.
Yeah. Oh goodness. All right. Are we moving into last calls then?
I think so.
Who's got what?
I'm going back to work. Summer break is over.
Yeah, that's right.
This sucks. So teachers are going back. Be kind. We are not caffeinated nearly enough. Be kind.
Oh, speaking of, this is a very weird tie-in. It only made me think of it because at the end of your summer year, you do the barbecue, which is what I went out there for, which was barbecue number 2, but you did the Bloom and Spam. It all comes together. I just found a can of Spam in my pantry. So
there you go.
I need your Bloomin' Spam recipe. Tell me how you season it and how you cook it. Not now.
Just find a rub, throw it on there, and cook it till it's crisp. But you have to make sure you want to. So whatever I do like 3 rows, and then I think 5. So whatever the width of your little Spam fry is going to be, that's the thickness that you need to have the bottom. Because if you go down too far, it's going to flop and break.
Yeah.
So
what do you do? How did you do yours? Put it on the grill or did you bake it?
Put it on the grill.
On the grill. Oh,
over
I might
on
air fry
indirect heat. You could do it in the oven, I'm sure.
Or the oven or air fryer, one of the two.
Oh, air fryer would work.
Yeah.
Air fryer.
Got to figure out the temperature and time though. Wonder what that would be.
Probably close to like 400, 450. And you could do it for 5 minutes and then flip it, or rotate it a little bit. That's what I do out on the grill.
I'll tell you what, I'll try it and I'll let you know how it comes out.
Please take pictures. I want to see. I'd do that. We got an air fryer. I'll do that. That's great.
I guess that's kind of my last call too then.
Okay. Bloomin' Spam.
Mine just dovetailed off yours. Casey, what do you got?
So at my new job, my boss and another coworker, they're really big into Invictas. And this kind of highlights to the fact that now they're not into Invictus because they are watch people. I want an accessory kind of people.
Okay.
And
which Invictas are they? Are they these Invictas, or are they these Invictas, or these Invictas?
No, massive.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, these dudes are like 6'5", pretty big boys. So anyway, this highlights to the fact that no one's actually looking. Like, if they're not a watch enthusiast, they don't give a shit about what you got on your wrist. Because I was wearing my Explorer to work, and I go to one of my coworkers. I'm like, "Hey man, it's a really nice watch." Kind of testing him to see if this is someone I can talk watches to. He goes, "Oh yeah, man, this isn't even one of my heavy hitters." I'm like, "Oh, what's a heavy hitter?" He's like, "Oh, one of our more expensive ones."
Heavy as in weight.
Talk about his really expensive Invictas, and I'm like,
wow. Did he get him on a cruise? Tell me he got him on a cruise.
No, I was like, all right, I'm gonna just not say anything here.
As you're walking around with a Rolex Explorer that nobody noticed.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you ever seen one of those ginormous Invictas in person?
Yeah. Yeah, these guys are wearing them.
They're horrible.
My boss, the guy that writes my evaluation, he has one that like it flips open, and I really don't understand what it was. It was like it was.
There's another watch on the inside. It's like a dual time.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think I know which one you're talking about. The outside is like a quartz, but there's 3 different dials, and then there's a mechanical watch on the inside.
Yep.
And all of the watches are about 15 millimeters thick.
Yep.
Oh, it's got to be more than that.
So the watch stacks like that.
Yeah.
Wow. Let's hope they don't watch this podcast.
Right.
Yeah.
You're in for your review, man. And we have a couple of comments.
I just sent it to you guys the other day. That new engraved looking one. It looks cool. It's large, but it looks cool.
No.
It looks cool. Come on.
No.
Oh, I think I do know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm sure one of Casey's coworkers will come up with it, so he'll get some hands on.
Yes.
It'll be
I think it's too small for him.
It's buy it for his wife.
Yeah, I wish Invicta would make bigger watches.
Yeah, me too.
that whole Flavor Flav thing going. That's nice. That's good.
I had to explain to my kid the other day who Flavor Flav was.
Well,
I did the whole thing.
Tell him it's Flavor of Love and on VH1. That'll make it easier.
Then I'd have to explain what VH1 is.
Okay, fair.
Kids these days.
These days.
I know. Joe,
well,
segue us in.
Well, how do we get in touch?
So this evening, Joe, Casey, and myself, we make up the Spring Bar Podcast. You can find us on Instagram at the Spring Bar Podcast. You can email us to springbarpodcast@gmail.com. On a personal level, I am 120 clicks, all spelled out, one long word, 120 clicks. Joe.
And Watch Taylor Youth. One long word. Watch Taylor Youth. KC.
I am time.hack1636.
Not one word. Not all spelled out.
Yeah,
well, it's Instagram, so technically it is one word. They're all one word.
He's got dots and stuff and numbers.
Yeah.
It's an alphanumeric, but also now we know what his email password is too, so it works out. You can.
Casey, you are the king of what are we getting tagged in photo wise this week? So what are we looking for that nobody's going to tag us in?
I still have to do that tie shot. I haven't thought about that.
Yeah, see?
Yep.
We can't even get our own people to tag us in photos. Why do we expect anybody else to?
This is yeah. Shit. Okay, you know what? That's a very fair point because yeah. Anyway, how about ugly / just out there straps?
All right. That's what we got.
All righty. Until next time, when we talk about brands that Joe wishes he had, but Casey really does.
Wow.
It was true.
Wow. Right there.
I mean, you could sell some of your watches.
But then I wouldn't have them.
This is true.
He won't get a screaming deal, so he won't buy one.
I won't get a screaming.
No.
Yeah.
As I go reevaluate all my life choices.
You'll get a lukewarm deal.
Yeah.
A deal that you just go, meh.
All right. Bye.
Good night, everybody.